And we're live. What's going on, guys? We are back with another interview. We got...
Good.
What?
No, I was going to say it's an exciting week. We have like a lot of interviews lined up, and today we have an amazing one with a good friend of ours, Suzanne Ryan, Keto Karma. You guys definitely know her.
You know her probably from YouTube. I think originally she documented her 1-year transformation, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then she was on some TV shows
Megyn Kelly and not Regis. What's his name?
She was on a bunch of them. I forget. She'll tell us which ones.
Yeah,
she'll
chat about it.
She has a book, maybe 2 books even.
Maybe 3, who knows?
And her latest thing that is on the horizon is these little crackers here. It's called Defy Foods.
They're
we'll talk to
cheddar
her a little
crackers.
bit about that.
Yeah, we taste them in our Mealtime Review segment that is coming out shortly.
And here she is. How's it going, Suzanne?
Hey, good. How are you?
Doing good.
We're doing great.
If you guys have questions in chat, be sure to hit us with them. So I guess you started keto a really long time ago, before it was cool. I saw your website. It says established 2015. So
Yeah.
I know ours was 2016, and that was really kind of ahead of the curve too. Not that many people were doing keto at the time.
Yeah.
So for the newcomers who don't know your story, could you go over it briefly?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely was into keto way before it got super popular. Actually, if you watch my first YouTube videos, I actually pronounced keto wrong. It was that early. I think I called it keto. I don't know what I was doing. But I basically had struggled with my weight most of my life. And at my highest, I was over 300 pounds. And I had tried literally everything that you can imagine to try to lose weight. Nothing worked. Nothing was sustainable. And then I discovered keto on Reddit. They have a thing on Friday where they post people's before and after pictures. And I just was so enamored with the fact that they weren't trying to sell me something or they were just kind of sharing their story. And I just resonated with it. And I was like, okay, this is the last thing that I haven't tried. I'm going to give this a go. And I started and stopped on the same day. My same old excuses kind of kicked in. And then 2 weeks later, I restarted and I was just I'm not giving up this time. I can't do this anymore. I'm too tired to play with my daughter. It hurts for me to get out of bed. This isn't working. So I committed really hardcore to keto. And then a year later, lost 100 pounds.
Wow. So first thing that I want to mention is that you do not seem like a frequent Redditor. Matt is obsessed with Reddit. He scrolls 24/7. So is that something you still do? Do you enjoy Reddit?
Well, I used to be on Reddit all the time before I had Olivia. And then when I had Olivia, all of my social and enjoyable time kind of got sucked into parenthood. And then, it's just it's the happiest distraction ever for sure. But it's life changes, schedules changes. So in the morning, I'll still get up and browse for a couple minutes on Reddit because I love it. The comment sections are the best. I think I like the comments more than I like, the posts most of the time. But yeah, Nick for sure is the big Redditor. He is all about it. But yeah,
I think people that are in tech are they tend to like it. So your husband is a tech guy, right?
Yeah. He's a software engineer, so he's all about it.
Yeah. So I guess would you attribute because I know didn't you do a YouTube channel for a year, weekly updates or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first 10 weeks, I just kind of kept my mouth shut because I was always the one saying I'm going to do this new thing, or I'm going to try this new pill, or I'm going to be juicing. It was always kind of this thing. So I just was I'm just going to be quiet about this, give it a couple weeks and see how it goes. And then 10 weeks in, I don't even remember the numbers anymore because it was 5 years ago, but I think 10 weeks in, I was down 20 or 30 pounds. And I was okay, I want to talk about this because I know there's a lot of people in my shoes who have tried to lose weight their whole life and they're frustrated and nothing's working. And there's something different about this. So we started filming YouTube videos every single week for mostly, the whole first year of losing, I think up until I lost 120 pounds. And then I just, started writing the books and, life got super busy and I stopped doing YouTube as much.
So how has your diet changed at all since the first year where you lost a lot of weight? You've maintained weight for multiple years now. Do you have any like tips and tricks for that? A lot of people have questions about that. Like, do you just go back to your regular diet once you lose all the weight? What's the strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone pretty much knows by now that if you just stop doing what you were doing that got you the results that you wanted, that you're going to go back to how you were before you started. So it's definitely a lifestyle change. Now, I will say, like, the first year, I was so insanely strict because I was so scared that if I had like one little thing out of like, you know, one high carb meal, that I was just going to like go right off the wagon. And
a lot of people have that fear, I think.
Yeah, I think we did too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary when, like, especially when you have a history of starting so many different things and stopping. It's almost like once you have that momentum going, you're like, oh, I don't want to do anything to like jinx this. I'm just going to keep going. So I was super, super strict the first year. And then almost a year into it, I had my first meal that like wasn't keto. And I remember being like super like thoughtful about it. And I was like, we were on vacation in Hawaii, and I remember discussing it. And I was like, the fact that we're even analyzing it and talking about this and like everything really shows that there's been a big shift in my mindset with food. So we had that like meal at this restaurant, and then the very next day we were back to keto, and it was such a relief to know that like this lifestyle, it really is like, you can, you know, everybody has a different way of doing things, but for me, like I can go and have like a meal every once in a while and stick to keto 90 to 95% of the time, and that works really great for me.
Yeah, someone in chat says, I love you, Suzanne. Have both books, got my mom to read them. So far I'm 35 days in, started at 440 down to 409. Ooh. I watched all your daily videos from your journey, and they keep me going.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to start filming videos again soon, but it's just juggling all the things.
Yeah.
So speaking of the videos, do you think that like being consistent with your diet, you could attribute to having to check in with the vlogs? Like if you weren't vlogging, do you think you would have slipped off a little more?
You know, I definitely think that having that support system was like key for me, because it was like, in my life, all of my friends, none of them really struggled with like the amount of weight that I had to lose. So I had friends who were like, oh, I want to lose 5 or 10 pounds. And I'm like, cool. Like I need to lose 120. Like, so I really
doesn't everyone need to lose 5 or 10 pounds?
Yeah,
totally.
No one's like, I'm perfect weight right now.
I know. So, I mean, I felt like definitely having the accountability of posting every week was really crucial, but also just like feeling like I had a community of people who understood like the struggle, and that there's like ups and downs. And, you know, because when you've struggled with being obese, like most of your life, like when you really are like getting serious about losing weight, like you want it to all be like lost yesterday. You're like, I'm sick of this. I'm done. I'm maxed out. Like, I don't want to be stuck like this anymore. So having that support system was really, really helpful.
Good question in chat here from Barbara. She says, what does super strict mean to you? Because I think people do have a lot of different definitions for that. So when you're saying like for the first year you were super strict, what's that mean?
So super strict for me means that I kept my carbs always under like 20 to 30 grams of net carbs. And I tried to stick mostly, the whole keep it simple. So very like, you know, very simple foods. I did a lot of like recipes and recreating things so that it wasn't boring. Because I think you have to also have the sustainability factor. So I was doing all kinds of cool recipes and stuff, but strict to me was like staying under 20 to 30 grams of net carbs.
And at any point, did you use ketones? Just out of curiosity.
No, I know that there's a lot of like therapeutic applications for those, but I've always really stayed away from those because I really don't want people to think that you have to take things like that to lose weight. Like I'm a big fan of like make your own ketones. Like your body's really great at doing it. So I never took any exogenous ketones.
So through the course of losing 100 pounds, I would imagine there was like some periods of weeks and months where you didn't lose a lot of weight. What did you do in those situations?
Yeah, so whenever I would hit a stall, one of the things that I started doing was hiding my scale, because I started realizing that I was putting so much emphasis on like what the number was versus like, hey, I ate really good this week. I went out for a walk. Like I took time for myself. Like I was like, why am I going to let this like little scale be the decider of like if I did good or bad this week? So there were definitely periods where I hit the scale. But if I just noticed that I was kind of like really like in an ongoing like riot, like I would, mostly it was like peanut butters. Like I would make sure that I was not overdoing that with like nuts and peanut butters. I would make sure that I wasn't over consuming dairy, because that's really easy to do, especially if you're going to Starbucks. Sometimes they like have a heavy pour with that heavy whipping cream. And then like I would make sure that I wasn't overdoing it with artificial sweeteners. That was another one that, you know, sometimes with like making different desserts and stuff like that, I felt like sometimes that would slow my weight loss down. So those were the three biggest things that I would focus on.
Yeah, for me, the sweeteners in particular, I realized, so we did like a Whole Foods keto challenge in May and June, and I found that like starting off with even like a bulletproof coffee, like doesn't do it for me, like doesn't make me want more, but adding that sweetener just makes it so delicious, and then like that just sets me off to like want more sweet things throughout the day. So it's like it's not the sweeteners itself, and that's what I get confused about. Do you think it's like the sweetener itself, or is it just that you're eating more because you're eating something that's very sweet?
I mean, that's something that I've kicked around a lot too, to try to, and I don't know for sure, but the thing that I keep kind of coming back to is like, even if we don't have like a blood sugar response or an insulin response to what you're eating, like if you're still having those sweet things, it does kind of still light up like a little bit of like a spot in your brain of like, ooh, this is sweet. And I almost wonder if there's just like a link with that like maybe your brain doesn't know, even though your blood sugar may not be like increasing, there's that tie-in.
I think anytime you're adding even seasonings or sweeteners or just making things taste better, you're going to be able to eat more than you normally would naturally.
For sure, for sure. Yeah.
But desserts are just so much more calorie dense, right?
Yeah.
So
because a lot of the times you have the phenomena, and like going back to the standard American diet, where if you finish a meal, you want something that like tastes the opposite from that meal. So you want like usually dessert, something sweet.
Right.
And you could probably, if you just like waited 15, 20 minutes, be fine without dessert. Once you get in the habit though of having dessert, it's easy to want it every night. But really like you're pretty full, but then it's just like the change in texture and flavors that you could probably eat more. Like that's...
Oh yeah, that's...
So if you remove... Sweetness is really the main thing. Saltiness is another thing. Like it just makes you able to eat more calories throughout the day.
Yeah, the textures and everything. So speaking on that, when you were doing your first year of Strict, did you have like replacement desserts often, or did you find that like you were baking a lot?
And where were you coming from? Were you coming from just like standard American
like
diet?
Snickers every day.
Yeah. So I mean, where I was coming from was like tons of soda. Soda was like my main thing. Like I always like joke around that I was like a golden girl. I loved ginger ale. Like that was like something that I loved. So ginger ale and Coke. Like I drank tons of soda. When I was growing up, a lot of times like I wouldn't even drink water. Like I would just drink like a 2-liter of soda. And then, when I was younger, my parents got divorced when I was younger. We ended up growing up a lot with my dad, and he didn't really know how to cook a whole lot. Like he had a couple staples, like he can make some like mean like chicken tenders and stuff like that. But like for the most part, we were like going through the drive-through at McDonald's and ordering pizzas and things that were super easy, but obviously very, very heavy in carbs. And my lunch box was like full of like fruit by the foot and Dunkaroos and like, just carbs. So yeah, I was really, but I had tried so many different things to try to lose weight. So I had like, gently started doing certain things. So before I started doing keto, I was really watching the amount of soda that I was drinking. So that was actually my very first step before starting keto. I was really switching over to like sparkling water instead of soda.
And over the past 5 years, have you found like a number of meals per day that works best for you? Someone in chat's asking.
A lot of times I just do 2 meals a day, and I just feel like once I became keto adapted, my appetite really changed significantly. And I wouldn't have believed you if you would have told me that, because before I did keto, I was literally hungry all the time. But now with keto, like I feel like when I wake up in the morning and I'll have a coffee, and I'm not really that hungry. So normally like I'll eat somewhere around like 11 or 12 for lunch, and then I have dinner. But usually it's just kind of a 2 meal a day.
Are you putting sweetener in your coffee?
I do put sweetener in my coffee. I've been trying to kind of like wean it less and less and less. But I do like the liquid stevia. But I definitely I've even been dialing back the amount of coffee. I started noticing that like I was having like waves of anxiety, and I was like, maybe this is like tied into like the amount of caffeine that I'm having. So I started like tinkering around with like adjusting that, and I now drink decaf coffee, which I like didn't think I would ever do also. And that made a huge difference. So I realized that for me, like I have to limit the amount of caffeine that I have.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool point. And Matt says this a lot too, is like once you've gone keto, once you make this big change in your diet, then you start to tie like how you feel to the foods you're eating. So
Yeah.
like always being hungry after you eat a slice of pizza, like that makes sense. But like we're not like, oh, it's probably the pizza that's causing me to be hungry. It's like I should just eat more on top of what I just ate. But now
Yeah.
it's cool. Like I think everyone does this too. You just like focus on like, okay, maybe I ate this ice cream. I don't feel this good. And even if it's like a low carb, keto friendly one, you're just like, maybe I shouldn't eat that. Like we're making better and better decisions for ourselves, you know?
Yeah, that's not really a concept you're, like, at least I was raised to put together.
No.
Like, you eat something, it affects you. I guess, like, sugar rush was always a thing. Like,
But
if you eat a
like
bunch
cool
of sugar.
thing.
Yeah.
Like on Halloween, you're like, I got a sugar rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's not really, like, I would imagine back in the day, you were much more in tune with that just naturally, like, growing up. But, like, yeah, when I was raised, there was no putting together what you ate and how you felt. Except, I guess, like, Thanksgiving is one occasion where we figured that out.
We attributed it to,
But
like, just the turkey
but
tryptophan.
it's not really the turkey. I don't think the turkey has that big of an effect, actually, right?
No, it's the stuffing and the
Yeah,
pies
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is kind of interesting because I kind of, like, growing up, I always had stomach aches. And I remember being a kid and going in and having, like, barium swallows and all kinds of stuff. And they're like,
Oh, wow.
maybe it's stress and, like, maybe you have stomach ulcers or, like, whatever it was. And I just assumed that, like, my stomach, I just had, like, some issue with my stomach. And as soon as I switched over to keto, like, it all went away. And I was like, God, I didn't even think to, like, look at the food that I was eating.
Because you don't want it to be the food.
Right. Because it's like, what, you know, you don't want to give up the things that you're like, well, wait, like, I like the taste of this. But, like, when you really do see food as medicine and you see how heavily it affects your body, I think that's the craziest thing about keto is, like, you would think after all the different diets that I had done that I would, like, be a nutrition expert, but I wasn't. Like, I knew, like, certain things for a certain amount of points, like nothing, it was like all obscure stuff. But keto was the first thing that I was like, if I eat this, this is what it does in my body. And, like, having that knowledge then makes it so that you can say, like, I'm not eating this because I know what it's going to do to my body, not because I can't have it. And I think that knowing that really kind of puts this whole lifestyle into perspective, that it makes it really doable.
That is so funny that you say that. It's like before keto, you knew, like, oh, toaster waffle 6 points. Now you, like, understand nutrition. Isn't that crazy?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, because you could eat, like, 3 Snickers bars and be, like, within your points. And it's like, well, but, you know, you still feel like crap. You're still hungry all the time, and you can't sustain that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people in chat are asking, did you track throughout this entire year that you lost the weight? And did you figure out anything with, like, fat to protein? Like, what kind of macros work best for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely tracked for the first year, and I really used that as, like, my crash course in nutrition. Like, I was like, wow, I had no idea how many carbs were in garlic and in tomatoes and onions. And, like, it was a really great learning experience for me. I will say, by, like, month, like, 8 or 9, I was like, oh, I'm so sick of tracking. Like, I really did kind of get maxed out with it. But I made this commitment to myself. I'm like, I'm going to track, I'm going to, you know, monitor, I'm going to learn all this different stuff. So I did that for the first year. I don't really track anymore. I keep a rough idea of how many carbs I eat in a day. And then for me, like, I really did, like, the traditional, like, I usually had around, like, 95 grams of protein, and then I would have, like, 20 to 30 grams of carbs, and then the rest fat. So I was just kind of like your typical, like, keto wheel, and it worked really well for me.
Great question in chat. I don't think we ever talked about this before. What do you make of the fat acceptance movement?
What is the fat acceptance movement? Just that it's okay to eat fat now, saturated fat?
No,
No.
like a body acceptance, fat acceptance.
Oh, the
Like,
fat acceptance. Okay, like
yeah.
body positivity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I think this is a really interesting subject because I started kind of going through a feeling like this stage of not knowing how I felt about it, because I've been on both sides of this. Like, I have, you know, been 320 pounds, and then I've lost 120 pounds, and I've, you know, so I can kind of see, like, where there's, like, a little bit of a struggle right now. But I think the primary thing is that, like, everybody has to get to this place on their own time when it's right for them to do whatever is right for them. And I think that if we stop putting so many opinions on other people's bodies and other people's thoughts and just take care of ourselves, like, that's really the best way forward. But for me, like, I couldn't just sit and say that, like, I'm fine with just being over 300 pounds my whole life, because it physically affected me. Like, I literally would wake up after sleeping 8 hours at night and I was exhausted. Like, my back hurt, my joints hurt. And this was, like, in my 20s. So for me, this is like way different than just like a body positive thing. This is quality of life. And this is me being able to be here to like see my daughter get married. And like, it's so much bigger than like, what does somebody think I look like anymore? Like, and I understand where we get there because with society, like people are sick and tired of feeling like no one sees them, or maybe people make fun of them. I mean, I was harassed, I was made fun of, I was, you know, joked about at jobs. Like I get where there's a saturation where people like want equality. They don't want to feel like they're not good enough because of their size. But I do think on the same page, you can really focus on like, how does your health look, and like, how's your quality of life, and what factors will you face if you continue to be obese?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the one question that's not posed in like the whole body positivity movement. It's like, well, yeah, what you look like is one thing, but like, how are you feeling? Like, what do you want your long-term life to look like as you age? Because I mean, when you're 20 and you're extremely overweight, it's probably not affecting you as negatively as it would be if you were like 50 and really overweight.
For sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a lot of movement to like get rid of all shame around like unsavory activities. Like that's like a natural human response to things. Like promiscuous women back in the day, like everyone would shame them because that's not a good behavior for humanity, you know?
Right.
So I think like just getting rid of all of that is probably not great, but like, yeah, easing up on it. Like it's okay if you're overweight. I think the big message though is just like finding acceptance with your current body, working to improve. You always got to work to improve, right?
Yeah.
But finding some sort of acceptance and happiness with who you are. Because the truth is, even like the bodybuilders, the people with the bodies that you think are like ideal, they're the ones who are the least confident with their bodies. They're like always trying to...
And that's ideal now, but I mean, in a lot of cultures, and we've talked about this before, like being overweight means wealth. It's beautiful. Like a lot of overweight women, even like in Italian cultures, right? They don't want like skinny, tiny, fit women.
Well, I think things have shifted. When food was scarce, being overweight was good. When food's abundant, being thin is good.
Yeah, I still think in some cultures though, like, yeah, sure. Yeah. Fine, I'll agree.
And there's also, I mean, there is also one factor, because I always think about this for like growing up, and like I think about like the different ways that I was teased, but like, you know, I talked to some of my friends who weren't struggling with weight, and you know, my friends will say like, oh man, I was made fun of for like my nose, or I was made fun of for being too skinny, or I was made fun, like kids can be mean, and like we are gonna have like different levels of people being teased for like whatever it is. But I do think in general, I think with the body positivity movement is like, I think people really want like it's to be like included, and to not like, I mean, I had a heck of a time like ever finding clothes when I was growing up. I didn't go to like any of my like proms or homecomings. I literally had like this like women's world like section of the store, and everything was for like 60-year-olds. Like, so I think that people just want to be able to have similar things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I struggle, and like, I don't know how this sounds. I struggle with that a little, because then it's just like what we keep increasing size, like 10x, 11x, 12x. Like, is that what we should do for like humanity? Because I don't think that's
What do you
also
mean size?
Like size of clothing, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if someone's a certain size, there's going to be someone that fills the market to make clothing for them.
Yeah, so we just keep pushing those boundaries when like the root of the issue is like the foods. It's not like let's create more sizes. It's let's get our health in check. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, you got to create clothes.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone needs clothes. But it is funny because some people, there's like the Michael Jordan personality type where, you know, he has a really strict father. He uses that as motivation to just be like, you know, the greatest basketball player of all time. There's other people that like it's the opposite. Like when you're like depriving a child of food because they're a little overweight, they rebound like in the opposite direction. They're not like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder and show pops. They're just like, I'm going to eat a lot and be like a fat acceptance speaker, you know, like that type of a thing. It's like you can go in two opposite directions for sure.
Yeah.
Dramatic departure though.
Yes.
We should talk about what you're working on here, which is Defy Foods. And these are keto cheddar crackers, and you actually have a Kickstarter going on right now, right?
Also, we have a donation,
$5
donation from Donald J. Trump. Bought your book, love your recipes, have had massive success, but fall off the wagon when traveling. The sugar substitute video was exceptionally helpful. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, right now we do have the Kickstarter going for Defy, and there's only 4 days left. So right now people can go on and pre-order it. It's defyfoods.com/Kickstarter. And so my best friend and I actually started this company. And what we did, we both have 7-year-old girls. And at the time they were both 5, and we would all get together and have family dinners because she started keto at the same time I did. And so we would like take turns having dinner at each other's houses every week. And then we started making different things, and we made some crackers, and the girls loved them. And then we would make them when we'd have like little parties when we used to be able to do that. And like people would just be like, my gosh, these are so amazing. Like, and they were people who weren't even keto, who were just like, these are delicious. Like, you guys should totally like make these and sell them. I would love to be able to buy them. So we were like, I don't know, like, we don't know the first thing about the food industry, like, but like, we also wish we could buy them because it is nice to have things that are convenient. So we just went ahead and like has spent the last 2 years dialing them in, getting them ketogenic certified, doing all the things, and now they're finally on Kickstarter.
Yeah, so who certifies them?
Ketogenic.com, Dr. Ryan Lowry.
Oh.
That's a good racket.
It's awesome because what a lot of keto certified companies do, because there are others, but what they do is they just look at your ingredients and they say like yes or no. But with ketogenic.com, like their certification, they actually test people's like glucose and insulin responses to like the food on like a fasting state. So it's really amazing because they also look into like every single ingredient. Where does it come from? What, like they tear down every level. So it's a really, really good certification.
Yeah.
Some people are asking, I guess we should talk about Defy Foods a little bit more.
Questions.
So you've met the pledge goal.
Yeah, which is super exciting. You met that pretty quickly.
Yeah, we were really excited. It hit like our initial goal in I think 6 days. So it was I think people were really excited about having like a keto friendly cracker.
Yeah, what's the competitors? What else is out there?
Flackers are gross.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like this is the reason why we wanted to make these is because I've been keto for 5 years and there's nothing like it on the market. You know, there's pork rinds, which are okay, but like sometimes you get kind of saturated with those. And there's like dips that they don't really taste that great with. There are like, you know, flaxseed crackers or like, there's been some crackers that have been made out of like cauliflower. I just didn't like the taste of any of them. So a lot of people have described these as like a keto friendly, like wheat thin, or if you remember those, I think they're called like chicken and biscuit crackers.
Oh, I love those. Mega's never had them. I used to have those as a child all the time.
I think that's literally what you said when we were first tried these, and I was like, I've never had them. But they taste like just like not as cheesy of a Cheez-It to me. So it's like good because they're like not overly cheesy and you can use them with any sort of dip, but you can also just eat them on their own.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of the options out there are just basically like cheese, and it's like, okay, well, it's crunchy, but it's like it's just overly cheese, and it just was such a bummer because it's like with keto we can make these like amazing charcuterie boards with like cheese and prosciutto and all this stuff, but like no crackers. So we're like, all right, we need to like fill the void here. So that's what these crackers became.
So when will these ship?
So the fulfillment is going to be around like October, and we have 2 different tiers. We're actually hoping to be able to get them out sooner, but you know, when you're starting a food company and you're going through all the different things with packaging and shipping, and there's so many layers of it, you know, we just want to kind of give a buffer zone, but we are hoping to get them out sooner than that.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, did we pay for the Kickstarter?
Yeah, or I'm not sure if we have, but we will, and we plan to.
You're like, way to put me on the spot, Matt.
Yeah, she does all like the support for different businesses and stuff.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat is asking, could you share what you eat in a normal day?
Sure, yeah. So in the morning, I normally just do like a coffee with like some heavy cream and some stevia in there. Sometimes I will have like a scrambled egg or some avocado. For lunch, I normally just do something really simple, like a protein and like, you know, maybe a side salad, or like a bunless burger, or I'll just like wrap up meat and cheese. Like I do very, very simple stuff. Even though I have 2 cookbooks, like I don't really love like just being in the kitchen all day. So I just keep everything really simple. And then for dinner, we normally just do like grilled like salmon or steak or something like that with a veggie. Like we'll do like zucchini or broccoli. And then we'll just put like, coconut oil with that. And then, ranch and different things to add in fat. So just really simple stuff.
Yeah, and then what about Mick and especially Olivia? Do you have like snacks that you get for her that are good ingredients but not necessarily keto?
Yeah, I mean, Olivia eats like the majority of the stuff she eats is just like what we eat. Sometimes she definitely will have like a side of something. She's not like strict keto, but I do try to be careful with like certain things. Like, for example, she's never had soda in her life. And it's just something that like, because I struggled with that so badly, like we have like a no soda rule. And I mean, when she gets older, of course, she can make that decision. But like, as she's younger, I'm just like, let's just not, like, it's unnecessary. So we don't do things like that. But she's also like, definitely like, we let her just be a kid. Like, most birthday parties is like pizza and cake, and she does all of that stuff. I don't want her to feel like deprived. And like Matt said earlier, like, actually my best friend, Jess, she grew up in a household where they were really, really strict about everything that they ate, and she would like hide stuff from her parents. So like, I know that I don't want to overcorrect that with her. So I have Olivia cook with me, and I tell her about different ingredients, and she tries like a little bit of everything. But I feel like we have a good balance there.
I imagine it's going to be somewhat unavoidable because the natural instinct of kids is to rebel in certain ways to their kids or to their parents. And like, you have a cookbook about healthy eating, and so do we. I feel like it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's just going to be like a natural thing.
And it's funny too, because every once in a while, like if we'll be out and like I have something that's not keto, Olivia's like, Mom, that's not keto. Like, she calls me out. It's so funny.
That is really funny. Oh,
yeah. So some people are asking, where can they buy the Defy Foods, these crackers? It's only right now, it's at the Kickstarter. So if you just search Defy Foods, I can actually put the link for it also in chat here. I think it's linked in the description of this video too. You can support, and then they're going to ship out in October.
Yep.
And someone asks, what do you make of a carnivore approach or more of a vegan approach to a keto diet?
I kind of just feel like these are great examples of like people finding what works for them within kind of a similar vein. So I just say like, however it works for you, go for it. Like I personally need more variety, and I like having salads and veggies and stuff like that. But I know tons of people who are super happy being carnivore, or can be like vegan or vegetarian with doing keto. So it's just kind of like, find what works for you. There's so many different ways that you can do keto, and I'm all about it.
Have you like dabbled with carnivore at all? I feel like everyone takes their swing.
I haven't. I honestly just feel like I've had enough time in like trying things that I know that I can't stick to, that if I know right off the bat, like this is not something that I'm going to stay to long term, like I just kind of skip over it. So, I mean, I would possibly be willing to try it just to kind of like give some feedback on it. But like, I just know myself that like, that wouldn't be a long-term thing for me.
Yeah, I think even just thinking of things in those terms, like we're always attracted to the extremes now. It's like, do you prefer more of a carnivore or a vegan? There's the whole middle ground, which is probably going to be better. I would say I prefer more towards carnivore, not towards vegan at all. But like, you don't have to do one or the other.
Right.
Like little plants, little bit of meat.
But I think that you have a YouTube channel now, that could be a really good video. People like to just see what we're doing, what we're trying. So I think that would be good.
Yeah, we used to do way more crazy stuff for videos.
Yeah,
we
but
don't do as much.
We're parents now too, like you, and we've settled into the fact that like I enjoy eating food, and like I'm not gonna break my back to do something super extreme that I'm not gonna stick to, that I'm gonna be miserable doing.
Yeah, I mean, I would be way more into doing things like what you guys were doing with like doing like a keto Whole30. Yeah. I think it's really good to kind of dial in like, hey, I'm eating this thing and it actually isn't really sitting well with me, because you can be eating something that's keto, but it doesn't work well with your body. So I think those types of things, when you can really dial in and say like, ooh, this one thing is really a problem, I think that's a really great approach. But like just eating like all meat all the time, I couldn't do it.
Were there changes outside of diet you made along the same time as when you started keto that really added and impacted your transformation?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things, and it's the reason why I wrote my second book, was because like with Simply Keto, I talked all about like losing weight and keto. And then after, I had kind of really gotten into like what life was like after losing weight, I was like, gosh, there's this whole nother component that I didn't really talk about enough, which is like your mental health. And so, sticking to anything, doing anything, chasing your dreams, doing all the things that you want to do, like it really comes down to being mind over matter, because we all know how to lose weight at the end of the day. Like we all know all these different things, but like unless you're invested in the process and you believe in your ability to succeed and you see yourself as an investment, like you're just going to fizzle out. So I like started going to counseling. I started working on, like, I had the worst self-esteem. I was always the person in the back of the room. I didn't want, like, I just felt like crap about myself. And so I really needed to work on saying like, no, like I'm worthy and I'm like worth investing in, and like I can do this, because I just was like, I can't lose weight. I tried, like, I'm like made fun of. I feel like I don't fit in. I feel like I don't belong. Like I was just kind of like down in the dumps. So I really had to like rebuild who I was during the process.
Is there any pressure on being someone who is like known for having lost a lot of weight? Like you see a lot of people like that, like Jared Subway. Didn't he regain a lot of weight?
His name's Subway. Last name's Subway.
I mean Jared from Subway. Like a lot of these people, they lose weight and then they end up regaining. Is there some kind of pressure on you like that?
I think there's pressure in any type of like career path, because now this is like all of our jobs. Like, so I think in general, like in some way or another, there's pressure to like either be a certain way or say a certain thing or look a certain way. Like I think that transcends all different types of careers, because I hear like my husband talk about it with like being in software, and it's like, is my code good enough? I think in general, like we all just kind of like want to feel like we like belong, and that people aren't going to be constantly like judging us on all these things. But like for sure, I mean, when people know that like you've gone through this process and you're talking about all this stuff, like people do like want to see that you're like continuing and stuff. But I just I'm like brutally honest, like online with like, hey, I'm struggling right now, or like I'm going through this, or like I feel like if you're just like vulnerable enough that you share the ups and the downs, like people are rooting for you. Like people innately don't want to like tear you down. There's like some loud strangers on the internet who do that, but like I feel sorry for those people. Like you really have to grow a thicker skin when you're on the internet, because there's a lot of people who are hurting, and like it's the whole concept of like hurt people. So like, I just kind of had to learn how to block that out a little bit. But like you guys know, like the keto community is like so amazing and supportive.
Yeah, the community is great. I'm surprised so many people on the internet that have like tons of followers and they're like, somewhat famous, they're really thin skinned. Like can't handle, like that's why at first I was with everyone else. I was like, Kardashians, like they're famous for nothing essentially. What's going on here? But I've grown to really appreciate, like they put up with so much. Like imagine what they deal with on a day-to-day basis. They're earning the money.
They've built an empire.
Yeah, they're earning every dollar.
And now they're dealing with Kanye. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh my gosh, that I know. I'm like, that blew up.
I didn't see him.
You'll have to look him up after.
Okay.
It got crazy. Yeah. I think it was
okay.
But
Go ahead.
I think a lot of people don't know. Like, I mean, I didn't know what people like went through with always being like going on TV and like having everything that you post and everything that you say, having people just tear it apart line by line. And I definitely like, that's one of the reasons why I stopped doing YouTube, is because like I felt like YouTube was one of the worst places for like just really mean. Like, I mean, I had people say like, I hope you die. And I'm like, whoa, like this seems like really extreme. And I think for me, the place that I was in trying to rebuild my self-worth, like that wasn't good for me. So I had to take a break from it. And, but I have learned to like just feel sorry for the people who are saying things like that, because clearly like you got something going on if you're saying something like that to somebody.
Yeah, definitely. So as far as your weight loss goes, how did that like affect you socially with family and friends and work?
Well, I mean, it kind of changed a lot of things. Like I had some friends that like, friendships changed. I had some people who were like super supportive, and some people who I think felt like I had changed a lot. And it's funny because like, I definitely changed in the sense that like, I didn't want to just sit around the house anymore. Like I wanted to go out and explore and do more things. So I definitely felt like a lot of the things that I was interested in changed, because before I'm like, hey, let's just sit at home. And now I'm like, hey, let's go zip lining, and let's like, I wanted to like do all the things that I had missed out on. My family has been super, super supportive, and I'm so thankful for that. And then with like jobs, like it changed everything, because I was actually an ultrasound tech, and then, a stay-at-home mom with Olivia. And now writing books and launching Defy and like doing everything online. So it changed, keto pretty much changed everything. And I would have never seen it coming. It's just been crazy.
I feel like ziplining is one of the most overrated activities ever. I've gone twice. And I'm like, why isn't this going like 3 times as fast as it's going? That's always been my thought.
Where did you go?
One was in Columbus, Ohio, just like not a very good one probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
We went ziplining. Go ahead.
We went ziplining in Maui.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Like, I mean, like really long lines. You really get going fast.
Okay.
And then you have like views of the water the whole time. So I think it really depends. I think that's just like saying like whitewater rafting is lame on like level 1 rapids, but like when you get into like the 4s, it's like, whoa, this is amazing. So I think it depends on where you go.
That's true. I just went to like generic tourist destination. I feel like they have it where you can't go past a certain speed. There's like some counterweight going on or something. I didn't like it.
No, not where I went either. My issue was the climbing, because you have to like climb really, really high to get like to the high point to come back down.
Yeah, it's like a hike.
Yeah, I don't like hiking.
Well, with zip lining, there's a weight limit on it, and you actually have to go weigh in before you can go on the line. So, like, I was never able to do it because I exceeded the weight limit. So after I lost the weight, I was like, bucket list, I'm gonna go zip lining. So that's what I did. Yeah.
Awesome. So I saw on your YouTube channel when we were looking at it that you got skin loss surgery. Wait,
I did.
Okay.
It's excess skin. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that like one of the best decisions you've ever made? How did you contemplate that? Because that's like a big procedure, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge procedure. Basically, they removed over 7 pounds of like skin and tissue during my surgery. So they did like a full lower body lift. So I just had so much extra skin that like it made even just like wearing clothes difficult, because I had this like, I have pictures online too, like, because I was like, you know what, there's other people dealing with this, I'm just gonna like share it. Like it was, my husband was like, oh God, everyone at my work seeing like all these pictures. But like, you know, I just was like, I work too hard to like have to still struggle with like being able to wear clothes and a bathing suit and stuff. So for me, that was kind of like something that I just did for myself. It's definitely not something that everyone has to do. But like, I just was like, this is my like gift to myself to like get rid of this because I worked so hard to get here.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And then you mentioned when you were a child, like your parents didn't cook a lot or your dad didn't cook a lot. And so not growing up in a house that like was constantly cooking and creating new dishes, how did you come to Keto Karma? Because, I mean, I feel like the same is for myself. Like, I got Taco Bell all the time. My dad didn't cook a ton, like macaroni and cheese, but now I'm a food blogger. And
but when I met you, you cooked.
Yeah.
When we met, we both cooked, and most kids our age didn't cook.
Yeah, but not like the things we cook in our cookbook, right,
no,
Suzanne?
We had to step it up.
That's a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I think one of the reasons why like your book and my book resonate with people is because a lot of people aren't gourmet chefs. So they want to just cook foods that like normal people make, and like that's easy to do, that tastes good. And I feel like when you don't want to spend like hours and hours in the kitchen, then you put together some really cool recipes that people haven't thought of. So I think that there's like really is a market for that, of people who don't want to be in the kitchen for hours, but they want good food.
Yeah, it's also like playing in the kiddie pool, because like real chefs aren't making keto recipes, right? So like we're not competing against actual chefs. We're competing
we're not Bobby Flay.
Yeah, like if Bobby Flay, he could make a way better keto cookbook than us. Like even when we go,
Probably.
he could.
Yeah,
Because
for
even
sure,
when we go to the
sure.
bakery that has the keto goods, like that's a real chef making them, and they're way better than anything we make.
Yeah, that's true. Fine.
She beat Bobby Flay on
Oh,
his
she
show.
did. Yeah, she was on the show. So, but going back to Keto Karma, so when did you, like, during that first year, did you start it and, like, you were just like, oh, I'm going to put recipes out there and start a food blog because I have it, you know, like I'm at home now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started it up at, like, when I started my YouTube channel, because I was like, well, because then what happened was 10 weeks after I started keto, I launched the YouTube channel. The whole name behind Keto Karma is like, with karma, it's like you put good in, you get good out. And I felt that way with like sharing my story and with like what I was eating, like put good in, get good out. So I launched that. And then what was happening was people were saying like, hey, like, how do you start keto? And like, what are some of your favorite things and what are you eating? And so it was impossible to keep up with all the emails. So then we launched the blog, and then we put all the information of like, here's some resources, like, you know, so it all just kind of like naturally worked its way out, because initially when I started my YouTube channel, I was like emailing every person back, and then it got to be too much. So I was like, the blog kind of naturally happened.
Yeah, someone in chat is asking, do you take any supplements currently?
I don't take any supplements. I do basically, I mean, I do a multivitamin, but like I don't do any other type of like electrolyte supplements or anything like that. I try to just do everything through the food that I'm eating. So, you know, I'll do like for electrolytes, I'll do some like salted bone broth, eat some avocado. You know, I just try to do everything through what I eat.
Yeah, and then did you do much fasting, like either intermittent fasting or longer?
I didn't really do long-term fasts. I struggle with those because then I get like super hungry, and like I just don't feel great doing extended fasts. But I definitely have played around with doing like 24-hour fast, or just like intermittent fasting during the day. Like for example, I pretty much do intermittent fasting a lot of the days because I don't eat breakfast, so it's like I have that extended period of time. But I like the idea of fasting. I think it's possible once you're keto adapted. Before being keto adapted, I don't think I could have done it because I was just like always hungry.
Couple people in chat saying they ordered the DeFi crackers.
Yay.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
And then, so as far as when you were making the DeFi crackers, was there ingredients you wanted to make sure you avoided? And I guess like just as far as when you're at the grocery store looking for a snack, is there anything you're trying to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, so this is one of the reasons why it took us 2 years to get this to market, is because we wanted it to taste as good as like the ingredients were just as good. So we worked hand in hand with Dr. Ryan Lowry at Keto Certified. I'm like, hey, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Like literally every step along the way, we kind of coordinated this as we were testing things. So for us, it was really, really important to have things that like we would want to buy and that were going to be really good for people and that people could feel comfortable having their kids eat. And I mean, our girls take them to school in their lunchbox. So it's like, for us, it was like, we know that there's a need for quality because I mean, we need quality food, but we also need convenience. And usually they don't go hand in hand in packaged foods, which is ridiculous because there's no reason why we can't do that. So for us, like we mostly wanted to avoid, like we don't do anything with maltitol. The crackers don't have any sweeteners in them at all. And they're actually made with an almond flour base. So it's just really whole ingredients in there. It's just cheese and almond flour and eggs. And I mean, they're really simple ingredients.
Awesome. And then what about when you're grocery shopping and like, do you still like look at like Atkins bar snacks or go down like the bars like aisle? Because I still do to look to see.
It's part of our job.
It's part of our job, sure. But do you do it for like your sake and like when you're looking at the ingredients, what do you stay away from?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely look at ingredients all the time. Like I'm on the same boat with you guys. Like I just like to see what's coming out there. 9 times out of 10, I'm like disappointed by seeing people put in like chicory root, inulin, maltitol, IMOs. Like there's so many things that I'm like, like there's no need for this. But I do think that with having like ketogenic certified and stuff like that, I think more people are starting to realize that like we do care about the ingredients. But for the most part, like I really just try to avoid maltitol, and especially like chicory root makes my stomach sick. I mostly just kind of like stick to like Hecka bars and things that I know that don't have like all of that stuff in there.
Yeah, have you found that to be the case with chicory root? Because I know we talked to Yemeni and he mentioned like that's why he doesn't have it in his Hecka bars, but I can't think back to anything in particular. Like I know Quest bars make my stomach upset, but like I don't know like what has chicory root that I can think upsets my stomach. Can you?
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
So but you found that to be the case?
Well, so for me, the one thing that I really started noticing and I like using their stuff in like small amounts, but in like Lily's chocolate, for example, they have the inulin in there. And if
one time that exploded my stomach.
He ate half a bar or something,
one time.
And he just had like, diarrhea.
That's
so that uses inulin?
Yeah. So it says inulin on the back of there. So if you eat like a small amount of it, it's okay. But like if you're like, you get like your period and you're like sitting there with some wine in a bar, it's like, then it's like you're in trouble. So that's exactly what I started noticing was with eating that chocolate. I was like, oh, and then I was like, there's nothing in here that would upset my stomach except for the inulin.
How many times can two people use the word like? That is something I actually have a lot of problems with. I say like so much.
I do too.
Someone
Did
in
we
chat
all
said
just say like?
Probably. Me and you say it a lot. Like I noticed in our it's so inherent
I
to
do
me
it
to
too.
just say it.
It's a filler word, but you know what's funny? People don't realize like when you're live on doing like interviews, you say just like when you're public speaking because you fill in the spots.
Because if we just if we just paused every time, it would be like so much more awkward, right?
It's so hard to correct that. I have to talk a lot slower and I have to really focus on it, but maybe that's something I could make an effort to doing.
For whoever made that comment, we will do it for you.
We will try. We will try harder.
Yeah, so do you think this is going to be like this? See, I do it again. The springboard, is this like the first product and then you're going to have like a whole product line? Is that the plan?
So we're gonna launch with different flavors of crackers after this as well. So we already have a couple in progress, and then we do have some other things coming up that we're working on as well. So this is definitely
tomato
the first.
basil.
All right.
Tomato basil's a good flavor. What else is there?
I was thinking more like Doritos, like nacho cheese, ranch.
But like tomato basil is more like something
classy
you would get on like a cheese plate. Doritos is like you don't want that on your cheese plate.
Yeah, you want to go classy flavors.
I mean basil.
Yeah, basil's good. I like basil.
Really good. What else?
Yeah, we're also working on an everything bagel one, which is amazing.
People are really into everything bagel. I think I'm not into
obsessed.
It as much as most.
I love it.
Like people get that Trader Joe bagel seasoning and just put it on everything.
I love that. I mean, I love everything bagels. You always got like the egg one, which is like the worst one.
No, I get potato bagels.
That's even worse than egg bagel.
Or cheese, Asiago cheese from Panera's. That was like took the world by storm like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Asiago cheese Panera bagels.
What do you like? We got asked this on Instagram actually this morning. What is your like the non-keto food you miss the most?
Sushi. Like rice, like, you know, the sushi rice and stuff. Yeah. I feel like, I mean, there are some like sushi, like with the cucumber wraps that I like, but I love sushi rolls. And I just feel like cauliflower rice is like, okay, but it's not the same. Like the consistency is like not the same.
Yeah. Sushi's, you love sushis a lot too.
Yeah,
it's
like
fun using
rice.
Chopsticks.
I can't even use chopsticks. I still have fun.
Yeah.
Jen is asking, this has baffled me. There are some foods that contain more dietary fiber than carbs as per listed on the label. So when you do the net carb subtraction, it comes out negative. LOL. That is because the label is foreign probably. So the total carbs is actually the net carbs.
Yeah, so no subtraction necessary.
Right.
And I think someone asked, are Quest bars okay to eat?
Do you eat Quest bars, Suzanne?
I eat Quest bars every once in a while, but honestly, like now that there's other options out there that are a little bit lower protein and cleaner ingredients, I mostly still like Hecka bars if I'm on the go.
Is that your favorite like product you buy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm good friends with Yemeni too, so luckily like he sends them to me. But like the banana nut one and the double chocolate are like my two favorites. But I do like every once in a while, like we're on like a road trip and I'm in a gas station and there's like not much, like I'll grab a Quest bar, but I don't eat them all the time just because like they do have like so much more protein in them. But Olivia actually liked them, which is interesting. And I would rather her have that than like eat like a Nutri-Grain bar. So like we do have them in the house, but I don't eat them super often.
Did you see Nutri-Grain bars?
Did I? Oh my God, yeah. I ate 2 at a time at least.
Yeah.
The strawberry.
They're so thin.
Yeah.
Strawberry. Yeah, I like
There's so
blueberry.
many good Kudos bars, Chewy bars.
I thought it was a good callback. Dunkaroos. Those don't exist anymore, do they?
Oh my God. Those were like
there's
my
like weird
jam.
versions of them, but yeah, those are the best.
I feel like there will be a retro Dunkaroo that comes around in like the next few years that will really just people will love.
Yeah. No, Dunkaroos were my jam. Those things were so good. So bad for you, but.
I know. And then like Lunchables.
They're so small, the Dunkaroos.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah, but like we're also like 7 when we're eating them, or like 30 if I.
Yeah, I was never into Lunchables.
Yeah, Lunchables are so gross if you
Yeah.
really
Oh, they're
think about
awful.
them. But I like the pizza ones. Like I would eat those,
No.
but like it's so bad.
It is really bad.
They're so bad. Do you guys remember
Why do
like
parents buy those?
do you guys remember like the cheese crackers that came with like a little red smearing stick to like spread the cheese onto the
Oh,
crackers?
those are so good.
I like those.
I love those.
It's like 80s kids reunion right now.
That was so good. This is hilarious.
We got a $10 donation from Beatrix Roomford. She says thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we're winding down here. Where can everyone find you? I'll link in chat the Defy Foods Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, guys. 4 more days left, so don't miss out. And then when do they like go on sale? After they ship in October, then they start going on sale?
Yeah, so we're immediately after the Kickstarter ends, we'll have our own site up, which will just be defyfoods.com, and we'll be doing pre-orders on that.
Okay.
But if you want to be like the first one to try them and to get them, then you go to the defyfoods.com/Kickstarter, and you'll be the first one to get them.
Awesome. And I love the branding a lot.
Thank you.
Did you have someone help you with that?
Yeah, we it's funny. We have went through so many different designs. It's just like, designing the cover of a book. It's like we went through 50 different things, but we had a designer help us on that. And but there was a lot of stuff that we just like we're going in the stores and like we like this, we like this, we like this, and then kind of merged it together.
That's smart. That's a good
Yeah.
way to do it.
And then where else can everyone find you?
So my blog is ketokarma.com, and then on Instagram, Facebook, all the things, it's just at Keto Karma. And the only thing that's not is my YouTube channel, which is, for some reason, I didn't get the Keto Karma / Mine's like Keto Karma 2015. So that's the only one that's different.
At least you got ketokarma.com and not .net.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. Does somebody
have .net.
else have does somebody have your .com?
Well, someone originally had it,
Yeah.
and then we went with .net, and now it's since become available, but it's now like...
Bought by Horizon Organics, like the dairy company.
Yeah, so if you go to ketokonnect.com...
And I'm sure a lot of people do it. So they're getting traction.
Oh, wait, it changed again. Now myketocal.com/blog is at it.
Dang. Or did they buy it from
They
Horizon?
must have somehow gotten it.
I wanted to buy it, and Matt, you didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because as soon as you have any type of like social media following, people try to swoop up your domains. It's like such a bummer. I actually had like an exogenous ketone rep try to like take my ketokarma.net, and it took me forever to get it back.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Those dicks.
Yeah.
I know. We got it back though. We got it back.
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay, so now you're just immersed
I'm
in
trying to figure that out. All right. Thanks so much for joining
Thanks
us.
so much, Suzanne.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right. That's the interview. And I think we got one more tomorrow, too, right?
We do have one more tomorrow. I believe it's at 12:30 EST.
Yeah, so if you guys are liking these, once this is uploaded, it takes about an hour when we finish the interview. Comment and tell us who else you'd like us to get on. I've been into breathing lately.
So Wim Hof, want to get him on?
So I just read the book called Breath by James Nestor. He was also on the Joe Rogan podcast. Try getting him on. Once you're on Joe Rogan, though, I feel like it's hard to get you on
Yeah, because
Keto
that's why we
Connect.
got Sean Baker before he went on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.